in the wintertime, the men took turns coming early to build fires in this big pot-bellied stove in the church and everything, and they would have it all warm by the time everybody got there. And then in the summer, they would we met out under the tabernacle, and we all used to get in trouble because we'd move our feet around, which would disturb and move the gravel around, and that was a no-no, and everything. And we had fans, the little hand-waving fans that were always furnished by the funeral homes. Usually one of the funeral homes in Temple or Belton furnished those.
That was, of course, I'm a talker, and that was one of my favorite.
Sure.
But that was one of my favorite times, because you saw people that you didn't see all week.
Oh, I don't know. I remember the old tabernacle we had, and we had revivals.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, we're talking about 2-week revivals.
Yeah?
And we went every night. You know, everybody in the community went.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting and sleeping on those old benches as a kid, you know, but we had a lot of good times out there.
And then in the summer, well, really springtime, we always had revival. And it was a 2-week revival. And, you know, nowadays people complain if it's over 3 or 4 days, you know. But we had 2 weeks revival. And they had the morning service, which started at 10. And the men would come in from the field and wash up a little bit and put on a clean shirt. But it was always out under the tabernacle, so the odors, you know, didn't really kill everybody. And then we'd usually get back home around 11:30, and then they would eat and rest a little while and then go back to the fields. And but we always had the full dinner cooked before we went to church and everything. And then they do that, and then they'd come in, and then at night we would have the night service, and it would start at 7.
Of course, when you had the revival, we didn't have a baptistry. You went to the river in the summertime, and everybody was baptized in the river. And there would be 10, 15, maybe 20 people being baptized. And that's when the ladies didn't wear pants. They had to wear... That's another thing. When you went to church on Sunday, you were the very best. You wore hats, gloves. The men wore suits, or if they didn't have a suit, they wore the best they had, maybe a shirt and a tie. That's where you dressed up. Well, you take a woman going in that water, her skirt liked to float around. You had to be very careful. And a lot of times, there would be maybe 2 or 3 that would wade down the river in case we tried to float away. They would catch us.
We were baptized in the river, and depending on how full the river was, the height of the water, we would either be in back of my grandfather's house, which is now down in back of what was Daddy Hart's, and then Aunt Billy and Uncle Frank inherited that part of that too, and everything back down there, or in another area which was over by Shallow Ford, which was in the back of the area where we lived. And everybody in the church would come for the baptisms. I mean, whether you had anybody being baptized or not, everybody came. And singing, and they just sing and sing and sing, you know. And it was just a beautiful remembering time.
Music to me, of course, music's always been important to me. But there have been times in the past that I've heard special music. I'm already full. I told Brother Jared one time, I said, I didn't nearly have room for you today. I had to squeeze you in.
Squeeze, that's great.
I was full. The music was so good, and I was already full. But music is important.
And we've got really some good people, good singers up there. I love the men's quartets, and when he puts them together, now the women, and you know, individuals, or 3 or 4 of them. You know.
We got a good choir, period.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
growing. They're going to go out of their bounds.
Taylor's Valley always had a lot of good singing, always a lot of good singing. And we had a lot of people that could really sing. And my mom, which was Snooky, real name Vilma, and then Aunt Billy and Aunt Jimmy sang, and they were the Forrester sisters, and they sang a lot, at church. And my grandmother was the first organist and pianist at Taylor's Valley when she was 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and everything, and then she still played through the years and everything. And Mr. Cross Sr., Frank Cross Sr., Grana, and everybody insisted that he sang the Old Rugged Cross nearly every Sunday. And nobody wanted to even start church, the preaching, until Grana sang the Old Rugged Cross. And everybody would just sit there mesmerized. And when my cousin developed Alzheimer's, and she was talking to me one day, and Nancy said, "Fran, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just go in and hear Grana singing the Old Rugged Cross one more time?" And some of the best memories of my life. And when we have to go off and move off and go overseas, the highlight of coming home was going to church on Sunday morning and seeing all of the people from Taylor's Valley and visiting with them. And I love it, and I still do.